Right, here we go. Hopefully this is all going to work okay. I haven't done one of these videos for a little bit. I was working on stuff that was kind of behind the scenes stuff. And then I actually went away for 10 days, amazingly. And my microphone just died. If the sound is not as good, or the sound or my voice sounds a bit different, this so-called amazing blue snowball microphone that I've had for quite a while, I guess, all of the internals, all of this stuff in here is just balked. So this is now something, I don't know, I'd throw at an intruder. Stupid thing. Anyway, whatever. I might buy a better mic. I don't know. Something to do. Anyway, whatever. So yeah, this is Ridiculous Space Battles still. Still looking fairly ridiculous. I think you will agree, especially when stuff like that happens. Jesus. Anyway, I'm going to talk a bit about user interface stuff. I'm going to talk a bit about campaigns and a bunch of stuff that's gone in the game recently. I got a little list. One of them is towable mines. I can't remember what... I'll have to look it up. I can't find them now. It's just typical, isn't it? But one of the things that I added that I thought would be funny... there's a lot of stuff in the game. It's hard to find it. I might have to look it up in a minute. Is towable mines. So ships lay mines. I'm not sure any. Here you go. These are mines. These things here. So if the enemy break through our lines and they go over there, and they'll take damage. Oh my God! Look at this. This is all the escape pods from the destroyed ships. It's not going well, is it? That's pretty bad. And they are breaking through. They are. Anyway, so mines are all well and good, but you have to wait. And these are ECM mines, which is why these ships are getting shocked when they hit them. But you have to wait for the enemy to like break through, right? I introduced towable mines, where basically a drone flies ahead of the ship with a tractor beam and like pushes a mine towards the enemy, and leaves it in front of the enemy. I think it's quite cool. I can't see that any ships are actually doing it at the moment, but as with everything in this game, there's a lot going on. Something else that I did, let me just pause the game before it completely ends. So, see if I can find a ship that's damaged but not blown up. I probably can't. But if you've watched these videos before and you've seen ships take damage, that's taking damage there, isn't it? Oh, it's pretty terminal. There are certain points on the ship. What I'll do is I'll start a new battle. I'll try and just restart that one. It might crash. Who knows? No, it didn't. There are certain points on every ship that are targeted by enemy weapons. So they don't pick a random point. They pick specific points on the enemy ship. So like there, these 3 blue lasers are firing at that point on that ship, right? And that previously would have been a point that I've created like a damage effect on that ship, and if it takes damage, I just slow it down. But with all the particles, you might not see it happen anyway. That ship is taking damage. Oh, there you go. There, if you look there, you can see like the slightly glowy internals of the ship. Now, one of the problems is when all hell is breaking loose and everything's going zap bang all the time, if a ship is being picked on by a lot of enemy ships, this becomes really obvious because you can see that they're only shooting at like 12 different points on the ship, right? And that's because I've created 12 different like damage zones on the ship. But it occurred to me that it would be good if there were like hundreds of these points and that slight gaminess disappeared, so it looked like that a ship was being attacked from all kinds of different directions and stuff. And then it occurred to me that actually a lot of shots don't do internal damage. They do shield damage, or they do armor damage, or they miss. So, and I know that I can work out that that's probably going to happen. So I can work out that this specific beam laser here was in fact going to miss, or that it wasn't going to get past the shields. So what I do, I wrote some code that would load up the graphics for the ship, and it would scan through them, and it would pick like 400 points on the ship that were ship and were not a gap in the ship, so it wouldn't be like in the corner here. It would be a legitimate target, and these are kind of like dummy targets that the lasers fire at if I know that they're not going to hit. And you'd have to watch the game at this sort of speed and go frame by frame to notice. But I think that I'm pleased I wrote that code. It took like a day, because it makes everything look a little bit more organic and a bit sensible. It's quite cool in slow motion, isn't it? You can do like half speed or like normal speed. You could do like crazy speed, but like everything's just nuts at that point. We'll go back to this speed. Anyway, so that's something new that went in, so that targeting systems seem more sensible. I also introduced something called a drone wave beams. Now I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna quit this. We're gonna start a new battle. I'm gonna quit that. I'll go to something really simple. Oh, I haven't set that up yet. Okay, this will do. This will do. So if I go to weapons here, blah blah, ECM mine layer, Oblivion Ray, antimatter drone launcher. This is it, antimatter drone launcher. Let's just fight this. So, hang on, which one was that? That's the top one. If we watch them at the top. So they launch drones that have like wave beams on them. That's a wave beam, but that's an actual wave beam. We'll do this in slow-mo. So here are the drones, yeah, and you can see it does this kind of like lasso type beam laser with sparks on. I'll put it to normal speed. It's really quick. There is no gameplay significance whatsoever, but I like it. Really, the goal of everything visual in this game is for when people play it, for them to sort of go, it's ridiculous, but it's the whole point. I like ridiculous space battles. Anyway, so something else that happens is circle drones drift away. So let's go back again. It's going to crash at some point because there's some code I haven't written to. Actually, no. I tell you what. Let's do that battle again. But I'll put in the cruiser. I can't remember. I think it's Hell Chaser. Cruiser drone. Is it circle drone? Circle drone. Cruiser. So these have got circle drones. Put these in. I'm not bothering with orders. No, actually I am. There's no point in shooting at fighters, is there? Not with them. So yeah. So these are possibly going to be circle drones. Those are drones that fly towards the enemy ship and then they spin around them in the circle and then they fire. And they used to then just sort of fade out. But now, once they've stopped firing, they kind of lose their tracking on the ship so that they fly off like they, you know, like centrifugal force or something has done it. There you go. Do you see that? It was quick. When you get a circle of them on something. But not those ones. There you go. They kind of fly off. I basically just, at the point at which they stop shooting, their trajectory is kind of stored and they just stick with it. I love these. I think they're a really ridiculous weapon. Anyway, whatever. So that went in as well. Okay, so forgetting the Space Battles part of my Space Battles game, what I want to talk about is user interface. So, you know, let's just stop. This is my user interface. This is what things look like, right? And you've seen me mess around with this a lot. So I'm talking about all this stuff, right? And I'm kind of interested in people's opinions. I always hate my user interface, but I do put a lot of work into it. And the thing is, you could look at this and sort of go, oh, it's not very complicated, it's not very fancy, is it? But this is the screen where you've got all the crazy stuff happening, right? So if I go to a different screen, I mean, even that screen has this like silly fold-in effect thing. This is the screen that's probably the most showy. So I spent a lot of time on this, and I'm kind of interested to know what people think. There have been a lot of approaches over the years to user interfaces for space strategy games. I've played a lot of space strategy games. I remember the first one that I thought the user interface was amazing was called Imperium Galactica, very old. And it had a stupid interface. Everything was like, and I love all that. I think it's stupid but great. So I love that when you delete that, all of that happens. That's because wrong ship, isn't it? Let's load something sensible and then do that. Yeah. So this kind of stuff, I mean, like, all this screen really needs to be is just like a rectangle with other rectangles in it with text. Okay, so it doesn't have to have that animation thing on the right there at all. And it doesn't have to have all of this decoration around the dialog box. And it doesn't have to have these pointless things. These are a tribute to Star Trek The Next Generation, because you'll find that whenever they were explaining something and they'd sort of say, oh, there's a disruption in the lepton fields, Captain, and they'll look at a screen and it'll just be a load of pointless bar charts going up and down, and you sort of think, really? What have you deduced from this? It's just drivel, isn't it? But and I've really gone for it here. And all of these screens are like this. They have, you know, to a greater or lesser extent, they have this sort of thing. And I can't decide whether it's childish and stupid and I should stop it, or whether it's awesome and I just haven't gone far enough. And, you know, when I mouse over this, it just highlights a few things. You know, maybe the entire world should spin around in 3D and reassemble itself or something. And is that a little bit boring, the opening of this? I'd like to know what people think. Now, I know if you're like a real hardcore game player, like at some point you sort of go, oh, well, the user interface is like just something that gets in the way. You know, I just want the simplest, cleanest user interface. But don't forget the name of the game is Gratuitous Space Battles, and I think that the user interface design is actually a big part of the game. And something that really annoys me is when I'm looking at screenshots of new games and they just remove the user interface. And I sort of think, but I use the user interface. It's very important. And yeah, I want it to be responsive, and arguably this animation is a pain. But I also, I think user interface can be emotive, if that's the right word. It can have an emotional response. And what I'm going for is the kind of stupid user interface that you see sometimes in Star Trek. You really see it in stuff like Minority Report and Ender's Game. Ender's Game is the gold standard of silly, over-the-top sci-fi user interface. I watched that film a lot, and I watched some videos of sci-fi animations, and I sort of think, oh, I wish my game looked like that. But why I'm discussing this, so you can say, Cliff, you're talking nonsense. We hate all of this like animated stuff. You know, it's just silly. I think the silliness is part of it. I think the silliness is part of the appeal, and I think it's actually quite important. And arguably, all this stuff up here should be animating, and I wouldn't do it in 3D, but you know, I don't know. So that's one thing. The other thing I want to talk about, is fonts. What do you think of my text? Does it look alright? I mean, the trouble is YouTube compresses the hell out of everything, makes everything look like arse. It's pretty crisp, actually, but you might not be able to really tell that. I think not enough game developers ever say to their customers, does this look really shit? In case it does. Because I have like much better kerning now. If you don't know about fonts, it doesn't. Kerning is the fact that if you put a W next to an A, they move the A closer. So things actually overlap. If you look down here at weapon, the word weapon, I'll move my partly translucent head. The E is moved over slightly to be closer to the W. That's kerning. And it's a real pain because it depends on what font you got, and it depends on the size, and it depends on so much stuff. It's really annoying and really difficult to do. But I redid it. I'm not sure if I like these fonts. I might change these fonts. Anyway, I'm interested to know opinions. I read every comment on any video I ever do. The other thing I want to talk about is this, because I'm really unhappy with this. This is the campaign. Hey, let's play a campaign. So so it'll probably crash. It didn't. Okay. So this is a campaign game, and although I've clicked on the first one, it's lying. It's pretending it's a future game. So this isn't the real fleet. The thing about the campaign is you build up your fleet to fight the enemy with the amount of points you've got, and then any ships that survive you keep, and the next battle you can use them again, right? That's the idea, but you get some reinforcements, which means over here is a pain because I need 2 screens. The UI here is very placeholder and shit, but this is like the existing ships that I could drag onto here, and I kind of have done. And also I could select some new ships to put on there. And the trouble is, because this takes up space and this takes up space, and I want huge battles, I've now got nowhere to show you all the stats about each ship, which I do have on the other screen. I don't know where to put this. I mean, I could just have it like pop up as a massive mega cool tooltip whenever you highlight anything, and I'm probably going to try that. But I wonder what people think. Should these be tabs? So it's like new ships, existing ships, and then I could put it down here. There's so many ways to do it, and I won't know until I try all of them and then sort of decide. So for context, if I show you a normal battle, it's not crashing at all, is it? It's good. It's like this. So here's your ships, but got all this extra detail down here. Got tabs and stuff. This is just for show. And again, user interface is part of the fun, right? Like, do I really need to see a zoomed in version of this? Probably not. But it's kind of cool. Anyway, I'm interested to know your thoughts on all this stuff. So I'm currently working on the campaign side of things, and I'll be talking about that more in the next video. So yeah, and I'll be doing these videos more frequently. It's just a lot of stuff happened, basically. Anyway, this is Ridiculous Space Battles. It's still obviously in development, and it's probably coming out next year now, even into early access. But you can wishlist it, and obviously you should wishlist it. And if you follow indie games, you're probably sick of developers going, "Please wishlist my game." But it's very helpful because the more wishlists a game has, the more people who've added it to their wishlist, the more Steam will show it to people who are just browsing the store, and it gets the game in front of people. I haven't really made a new game for a while. I did other things, so I'm a bit out of the loop, and I don't know all the streamers and all that kind of stuff. So if you can like this video or share it or post it somewhere, or you know, whatever, I really do appreciate it. I know it's really boring hearing people begging like this, but I'm doing it anyway. More explosions in my next video, I think. Thank you for watching, and like and subscribe. Goodbye.